Hey folks, what's up? Welcome back to another Poem Master video. So we have the Summer Rerun banners up right now, and I guess we'll talk about these a bit. We're not going to talk too much about the tiered scout, because this is obviously paid gems, and you know, if you have paid gems, if you're a whale, then sure, go for it. I mean, it's a guaranteed unit, right? And pick whatever you want, I guess, if you're well enough to spend something on this. But otherwise, let's talk about the regular banner over here, right? So obviously, you know, in terms of if you should really spend gems on this banner, I'd say generally not really, right? And it's not for the lack of good units. There are good units here, right? But again, it's just the circumstances. The Master Fears are still up, right? The anniversary's coming up. The whatever else is coming up as well. The next villain arc, right? We also have some, two really great Pokefairs dropping soon. Even this month, right? So I wouldn't really say, like, again, the thing with these banners is they just come so rarely, right? It's usually once, maybe twice every year, right? So but like this banner especially is not that great because of the fact that everyone is 0.5% rates, so the overall rate for a featured is still like 2%, and there's like 0.5% each. And then we'll talk about the units, I guess, right? Let's start from the biggest issue on this banner, which is Lyra. This Lyra is one of the worst strikers in the game, I'd say, right, at the moment. Gridded, some bull strikers. She is like generationally bad for multiple reasons, right? Like, is her damage that bad? It is pretty bad, but it's not like the worst. All right, but it's not good. It's not good. First of all, her damage is not good. Second of all, she is a split physical special unit, right? So if you really want to utilize her and want to sync with her as well, you do need to have a support that can buff both her physical and special attack, right? And then the big thing, in my opinion, is she's incredibly slow. She's incredibly slow, and a lot of teams where you do want to, or a lot of teams that you want to run her in, are relatively gauge heavy, because you generally would want someone that has hypnosis, right? Whether it's hypnosis or dark void, whether again it's Darkrai or Serena, you want someone to put the opponents to sleep so you can activate your multipliers, right? And those generally aren't super gauge friendly units either. So that on top, like, her team comps are just very bad, right? Again, especially if you are syncing with her. If you're not syncing with her, maybe it's not as bad, right? Just get a gauge unit. But if you are also trying to sync with her, right, the EX striker does AoE sleep the entire opponent's team, but again, you need them asleep in the first place to activate their multiplier, so it's not that big of a deal. So when you're looking at the support, you need a support that could both buff her physical attack, special attack, and also have enough gauge support, right? Whether it's move gauge, acceleration, speed, and there's not a lot of units in the game that do that, right? There's some like Faulkner, who the speed buffing part is not very reliable, and obviously has downsides with the sync move countdown stuff. There's like Kiawe, right, which again can do it, but also has a pretty hefty startup cost, right? To buff like speed, you have to use a like 2 gauge move in the first place. And what else? SS Blue is just slow in general, right? This guy gets like nothing done. Eevee, you have to sync with Eevee, right? So it's just very hard to find great team comps for her that could reliably get her working, which is why I would argue she's probably one of the worst summonable units in the game, right? And worst or second worst summonable seasonal in the game, right? It's between her and Holiday Erica. I personally think Holiday Erica is a bit better, even though Holiday Erica gets completely outclassed by Xerneas. Well, not completely, but in almost every way gets outclassed by Xerneas. But at least the archetype of like a self-healing tank that has like, team heals, that has really good, status condition cures. At least that archetype's like okay, right? Usable. Lyra Jigglypuff is just very, very hard to make good, right? So that's like the big issue over here. So like even if you do want any of the other three, it's like, okay, then it's only like a 1.5% chance to get either of the other three, right? And speaking of the other three, it's not like they're all great, you know, Rainbow and Sunshine's there either. Steven's not that great either. Steven Sandslash over here, he has his own issues. He's not as bad as Lyra, I'd say. At least he's a bit more usable. He has Hail on Sync, which also has the issues of only get it on Sync, so you might not have it when your next Sync's around, but whatever. It's not like the biggest deal in the world. His multipliers are relatively hard to trigger. Both his multipliers, one being Flinch, one being Freeze. First of all, you can't activate at the same time. Second of all, they're both relatively RNG. Well, I can't say completely RNG now that we have a 100% flincher in SS Lyra, but relatively hard to trigger as well, right? And it's just that there's better Hail teams, right? With the Holiday Nessa and something like Holiday Leon, that's just a better option. If you really, really want a nice, solid ice team, just wait for the rerun of Holiday Nessa and Holiday Leon, or if any other ice unit things comes out in the future, or even just Hala himself, he should be fine generally, or whatever gets his like power boost, right? But yeah, he's definitely not my first pick for like a strong, solid, powerful ice team, right? Moving on to the last two, both Marnie and Gloria are nice. They're still good, right? But they're also, neither of them are also like great either, right? Gloria has the buffing issue, although if you do have SS Chris completely fixes Gloria, right? Which, if you do have SS Chris with Gloria, that's great. But if you don't have SS Chris, then running Gloria, you do have to run as support, which, I mean, not the end of the world, right? I mean, yeah, most teams run supports, that's fine. But overall, her gimmick isn't like super interesting to play around with, and yeah, the upside is her damage is solid, right? Solid single target water type damage. It's just that, do people really need more of that, right? Again, Cyrus is free, Cyrus Palkia is free. Even the Egg Gyarados, if you guys hatch that, Striker Gyarados, that's free and good enough, as well as a single target water type damage dealer. And then last one, Summer Marnie. Summer Marnie, I would argue, is probably the best one out of these four, right? And is she that great? Not really either. She does have some issues. Her Sync Nuke is fantastic, first of all. Her buffs are really nice, relatively easy to get, right? Triple bulk up. And then if you want to use a training move after your Sync, you can do that as well, I guess. And obviously she's fantastic for Battle Villa if you still worry about that, right? Because you don't have to use MP to max out your stats, all that stuff. And she does have coverage with Dark type as well. My only reservation is really her DPS. Takes a while to set up, right? Her DPS multipliers does take a while to set up. And even if you do fully set them up, it's still not that powerful, right? It's still not that powerful. So anyways, but yeah, overall, she's a good nuker, all that stuff. She's probably one of the better fairy type damage dealers, I'd say. Yeah, again, overall, this is not a banner I would really recommend summoning on. If you do have page gems, the other one is nice, right? If you're like a dolphin or whatever, don't spend like too much. I wouldn't really recommend the other one either. I mean, it is a guaranteed. So like, if you like, for example, really need Marnie or whatever, then okay, I guess. But otherwise, oh cool, got a 5-star. Otherwise, not something I'd really go for either, honestly. But anyways, yeah, that's really this one, I guess. Hope y'all enjoyed. Guys, think in the comments down below. Like, share this video, right? Have some more Pokemon's going on, all that stuff. We're gonna tomorrow morning at least, right? We can do the new reset Champion Stadium. I'm gonna check out Zoroark against Dark Week Master Mode finally. So stay tuned for that. So have fun, folks. I'll see you guys in the next one.